5, right?
Yes.
Okay. Ecclesiastes. Chapter 5 is somewhat of an enigma. It's a transitioning chapter. And by that I mean he's in a very negative mode right now. And everything in the world just stinks, basically. You know, everything's vain, don't even bother, blah, blah, blah. People stink, the stuff in the world stinks, everything stinks. The only thing he hasn't said is God is a waste of time. But give him time, he'll get there. In this chapter, and this was chapter 1 and 2, 3 is really bad. And then 4 is where he mentions or he sees for the first time what he calls the foolish lad. And the foolish lad is the little boy, 6, 7, skipping on his way to church with his mom to go worship God. And he loves God, and he loves his mom, and he loves church. And, so what chapter 4 does is it raises a big question in his mind as to why is this child happy who has nothing, and why am I who have everything so miserable? Does that make the child a fool, or does that make the king the fool? Which is a good question to ask. Because it seems that the child has what he's longing for and can't find it. It's no accident Jesus talks all the time about a childlike faith, returning to a childlike, and he takes children and says, unless you become like this, you will never enter the kingdom of God. If anyone would dare prevent one of these children from coming to me, tie a millstone on your neck and heave yourself into the sea. And he uses that imagery all the time about a childlike faith. And you might want to ask yourself there again the interpretive question, why would Jesus talk like that? Well, because how many worries do most children have? Children that are cared for. I realize there's abusive cases and stuff like that. But children that are cared for, how many worries do they have? Very few, if any. In fact, when I was teaching school, a lot of times a teacher would go out or something like that, and they'd take me out of 5th grade and put me down in the kindergartners or whatever. And, you gotta teach kindergartner. The world is fabulous. So I spend the day with them and kind of like a little human research project. And I say, how many of you can swim? And every hand goes up. Now, you know darn well half those kids can't swim. How many of you have ever been to space? And every hand goes up. How many of you have a brother that looks like a flower? And their hands go up. And it's just, it's amazing how the world is so incredible for these little 5-year-olds. And how many wants to do, colors? And all their hands go up. How many likes to eat bugs? And all their hands go up. And it's just, that tells me that they haven't got a care in the world. They got a mom and a dad probably that love them and feed them and keep them safe and warm. They come to a school where the teachers watch out for them and take care of them, get them to the lunchroom, get them to the potty. Very important to a 5th grader. Not a 5th grader, a 5-year-old. And they're taken care of, you see. So that the whole concept of fear, or even the implicit fear of not having enough, I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have this, I'm going to go hungry. It eludes them. They aren't aware of it, and part of it is because, why? Well, because they're children. And right now, they are dependent, but they don't even know it. Their needs are taken care of, but they don't even know it. They just realize they're not hungry, they're not dirty, they're not hurt. If they do get hurt, mom's right there, and if mom can't handle it, well, grandma can. A kiss from grandma can fix anything. We all know that. Never mind the EMT, send in grandma. She can fix any kind of hurt. And this is the behavior, but the child doesn't understand how all this function happens. He just understands that he was hurt, now he feels better. He cried for a minute, but now he's happy again, laughing his ears off, same thing. And it's a wonderful life. Well, is that child totally without knowledge? Well, he's got a limited knowledge, but he's got an abundance of childlike trust. And somehow deep in the child's heart and soul, he knows, I guess if you put it in one phrase, he knows everything's going to be okay. Somehow, somewhere, he'll be fed, she'll be taken care of, he'll have a cute little sports suit, she'll have a nice little dress, her hair will be done in the bath, Mom will wash this mud off of me all over myself. And somehow both of us will end up snuggled in our bed. We'll close our eyes, the world for us will come to an end for a little while. And we'll wake up tomorrow, and what will happen? New day, same mom, same great everything, off to school. How many of you can? And then all their hands go up. Nothing's changed. This is what Jesus meant when he said, this is where you got to strive for. To regain this childlike trust where somehow you know everything's going to be okay. Jesus promises us forgiveness. He promises us eternity. He promises us, I'm going to go build a place for you. And if I not just build a place for you, but if I go, I'm going to come on that day and take you there myself. You don't even have to find it. You don't even have to go alone. He will escort you to that place, that where he is, you can also be, as you can reign with God the Father in heaven forever and ever. Wow. And still most of us as adults spend our life worrying, in fear, wrapped by what ifs. What if. Jesus just wants you to skip down to church with your mom and worship a little bit. And know that somewhere, somehow, through all the mire and mist and confusion and doubt of this world, stuff's going to be okay. I like that imagery Jesus uses. He goes, which one of you, if this is a wicked and sinful generation, and which one of you, if you two moms had a daughter and she came and said, Mom, I'm hungry, can I have a piece of bread? How many of you would give them a rock and say, here, go chew on this? No. Of course you wouldn't do that. And he uses another one. He goes, if he comes and says, Dad, I'm hungry, can I have a fish? Which one of you would throw him a snake and say, here, go eat this? Nobody would do that. And then Jesus answers by saying, if you, being a broken, wicked generation, prone toward evil and bad behavior, know how to do good things for your children, why do you doubt that God can't do good things for you? Well, I'll tell you why. Because somewhere along the way, you've let this wonder about maybe what ifs replace this childlike faith of what I got to worry about. All right, this is chapter 5. We're calling into light this question of human behavior. Now, I'm not going to, it is still a little negative, but at least it's heading in a better direction toward the positive. They say 50% of the cure is what? Just identifying the disease, right? You can't fight a disease you can't see. You can't fight a disease you don't know about. So that's why we have all these billions of dollars of technology to see and get a picture and get an x-ray and get I don't know what they call those things, MRIs and stuff. Until finally they go, well, Barb, there it is right there. That's what's killing you. Well, that's half the battle, isn't it? We've got it. We know where it is. We know we can get it. We can take it out. We can fix you back up. And you'll be back out there, roller skating in no time. Half the battle is just defining what's wrong and then doing something about it, or at least considering a decision to do something about it. Welcome to Christianity 101. You know why it's so darn hard to get people involved in Jesus? To get anyone involved in the religion, theology, church? Right here. The world, oh, I need this, I need that, I don't have this, I don't have that, this, blah, 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 blah. Until finally they're just a ball of fears, ball of confusion. And you come along and say, hey, God can make stuff okay. What do they say? Yeah, right. And they continue in their struggle, and what they fail to do is to see even the need that God supplies. And because we don't need God, we won't seek God. Because we don't need religion, we won't seek religion. Because we don't consider religion or God or His promise as important, well, we'll never do anything about it. Why should I waste my time? Well, Tom, I don't need to go to church. Really? Do you need to eat food? Well, people say, of course I need to eat food. Oh, I see. Why? Well, because it keeps me alive. Good answer, I guess. What is God promising? Eternal life. Not just on this dreary little planet. Not just on this weary little everyday, oh, woe is me, I got to go to work. I got a mortgage, I got to pay, I got a car, I got to pay, I got a wife I can't afford, I got to, everything, even at Christmas time. Well, it's nice, but it's not really what I wanted. Oh, man, stop bumming me out. You ever been around people that are just negative all the time? I've met a bunch of them. And you know what? I got to be honest with you. All that Christian stuff in there about being friendly and kind to everybody. Not that one, Lord. I'm walking away from that one. Not that one. And it's not that you don't try. You do try. But the fact of the matter is, this is why it's so darn hard to get people into church. Right here. Their mind is filled with all of this. But they never take the time to identify any of this and to consider other options and maybe even pursue other options. Now the difference here is our king buddy, he's running out of options. He's tried all the riches and power and women and wine and song and everything else. He's even tried other people and he's found them to be disappointing. That was last chapter. But chapter 5 now is he's starting to think, is there anything worth pursuing? Now you girls all know that when you were looking for a husband. When you look at this group of guys, you go, well, there's some real losers in there. Am I lying or is that true?
It's true.
It's true. you all got your shopping list. I know what it's like. Guys aren't so particular. We just go, ooh, yeah, she looked good in shorts. And we've made our decision. That's that simple. But girls a little bit, well, dad won't like him, well, mom will like him. And he's got to measure up in a million different ways before any pursuit is going to happen. Even those first few dates aren't so much let's get to know each other as much as it is, it's recon, it's intel. I'm gathering intel to see what? If you make the list. That's what he's going to do in chapter 5. But this time, who he's intelling and reconning is God. Why is this boy so happy? Why is this boy skipping and singing and whistling and going joyfully to the church? What is it there that makes this child at peace?
Simple trust.
Well, this is part of what the book's about. What has God got to offer? Because you know what? More than once a day, God hears one person say to another, I don't need all that God stuff. Really? You need air, don't you?
Yeah.
Why? Because you're a pneumatisphore. If you don't have air, you will die. Invictus said that. I don't need God. My knee will bow. My head will bow to no one, not even God. As he stood aboard the bow of his ship. Bring it on. Bring on the fight. And then the angel showed up, if you remember, and said, what'd you just say? I bow to no one. Yeah, that's what I thought you said. God heard you, by the way. He's not happy. He sent me to do this. And suddenly his breath was taken away. Couldn't breathe, hit the ground, and with his last gasp, he looked up and said, okay, I'll bow to God. I guess I was wrong. You think? Boy, if we could do that today, how great would that be?
Could be wonderful.
Get a lot of people in church. You don't think you need God? Well, do you need air? That's what the angel said. If you think God could take you out right now with a simple little squeeze on the neck, think what he can do if you miss the okay thing on the other side of this world. Ever think about that? You know, there is this thing called the lake of fire. Not sure what that's all about, but I got an idea. It's not good. I'm going to open this. It's too hot.
They've called you.
All right, let's look at chapter 5 real quick. You're going to see him. He's going to jump around many times like we do. If you ask somebody, I used to know this girl. She was incredible. She could speak at like 140 words a minute with gusts up to 170. You know, it's like a category 5 conversation. Very dangerous. And she would not stay on any one topic for more than 2 or 3 sentences. Well, I just sit there and my brain's going, warning, warning, danger, danger, Tom, run away, run away, run away. That's what he's doing in this chapter. Listen to what I'm reading. As I read it, listen to the topic change over and over again. 15 times in one chapter. Okay, now remember, he's referenced the kid. He's watching the kid go down to the house of God, going to church with mom, happy, everybody's singing, skipping along. What has this kid got that I don't got? He writes, guard your steps as you go into the house of the Lord. Draw near and listen, rather than just offer sacrifices of the fools. For they do not even know what they are doing is evil. So he says, maybe it's time we listen to God rather than just throw our $5 in the plate and that's it. They didn't throw $5 in the plate. They brought a sheep or a lamb and made their offerings. But basically the same thing. Draw near as guard your steps when you go into the house of the Lord. Do not be hasty in your words or impulsive in your thought to bring up matters in the presence of God, for God is in heaven. You are still on the earth. Therefore, let your words and your thoughts that you find so important, let your thoughts be few. Now, this is good wisdom. Remember, this is wisdom literature, what God would prefer, right? So he's starting slowly to maybe consider something different. But now look what happens. For the dream comes through much effort, and the voice of a fool through many words. When you make a vow to God, do not be late in paying it, for he takes no delight in fools. Pay what you vow. It is better that you should never vow than that you should vow and then not pay. Do not let your speech cause you to sin, and do not say in the presence of the messenger of God that it was just a mistake. Why should God be angry on account of your voice? Or why do you think he would destroy the works of your hands? Basically, same thing the prophet said when he said, what is man that God should even consider him? Really? You got anything to offer God that's concerning to him? Maybe not. For in many dreams and in many words, there is much emptiness. Rather, we should fear God or respect God. If you see oppression of the poor and denial of justice and righteousness in the province, do not be shocked at the sight. For the official watches over another official, and there are even higher officials over them. After all, a king who cultivates a field is an advantage to the whole of the land. For he who loves money will not be satisfied with money, and he who loves abundance will never satisfy with his income. For this is already discovered, so he says, to be vain, to vanity. When good things increase, those who consume them also increase. So what is the advantage to the owner except to sit back and look on? The sleep of the working man is pleasant, whether he eats little or much. But the full stomach of the rich man will not allow him to sleep. There is a grievous evil which I have seen under the sun, riches being hoarded by their owners to his own hurt. When those riches were lost through a bad investment, and he had fathered a son, then he had nothing to support his child. As he had come naked from his mother's womb, so also will he return as he came. He will take nothing from the fruit of his labor that he can carry in his own hand. And this is also a grievous evil. Exactly as a man is born, so will he die. So what advantage to him to toil? This is as chasing after the wind. Throughout his life, he also eats in darkness with great vexation. There is sickness and anger. Here is what I have seen to be good and fitting, that one should eat and drink and enjoy oneself in all one's labor in which he toils under the sun during the few years of his life which God has given him. And this will be his reward. Furthermore, as every man to whom God has given riches and wealth, he has empowered him also to eat from them and to receive his reward and rejoice in his labor. That this is the gift of God. For he will not often consider the years of his life, because God will keep him occupied with the gladness of his heart. What does that mean? I do in my marker. What does that mean? God, he will not consider the years of his life because God keeps him happy.
Yeah, so he's getting a little bit of happiness.
Not at all. Quite the opposite. Not at all. Not even close. It's a commentary on his own life. Why haven't I considered my few years on this earth? Why haven't I considered the direction of my life? Why haven't I done this? Well, because I've eaten and drinking and toiled and got all the stuff in the whole world, and everything's focusing, defining, realigning. And I've never even stopped to consider that I'm surrounded by sickness and anger and strife and want and emptiness and loneliness. And then there's this dang longing thing in my heart that I can't even understand. But in as negative as this sounds, what's he doing? Moving a little bit away from this, where all is vanity. Remember, all is vain. Now he's going, what has this kid got that I ain't got? How does that kid tie in with God? Is there a God? Is religion anything worth considering? How do we talk, function, participate with God, who knows everything? As far as I can tell, the only reward from God is that which you earn on this earth, and even that you can't take it with you. You're born naked, you die naked. As you came, so will you go. You can't take anything with you. So I guess the only reward God can give you in this life is to eat, drink, and be merry. This, of course, was the Epicureans and the Stoics' philosophy. Eat, drink, and be merry, because tomorrow you're in the dumpster. That's it. And this will be reward enough. There's your operative word. Is it reward enough? Is this life all you want? You know, Jimmy Buffett writes a song, sings a song that says, I'd rather die while I'm living than live when I'm dead. In other words, I'd rather die while I'm doing all of this than live after. And I'm thinking, whoa, Jimmy, you went down the wrong road that time. My question is, why can't you have both? Why can't you have both? Why can't you enjoy the blessings that God's given us here without hoarding or scratching or clawing or killing to get more? Just enjoy what you have. But seek that which is even more vital. Wow, that sounds a lot like Sermon on the Mount, doesn't it? God knows you need food. God knows you need air. God knows you need something to wear. God knows all this stuff. He's not an idiot, really. But there's something greater you should be considering than just what a man eats or drinks or wears or where he lives. Seek first the kingdom of God. All this will be added, but will be added in proper perspectives, proper appreciations, and you don't trust in these things. If you want to see them as a reward, we say it all the time. Well, I won this, and I've been blessed by God. You're blessed by God every day you wake up. Boom, your eye opens. You go, I'm not dead, I'm not dead, I'm not dead.
Just to wake up.
Well, when you get our age, it is. It's a little bit more difficult every morning.
Yeah.
Wake up and go, oh, Lord, how much stuff can you make hurt at one time? There's a lot of blessing. This is the day God's remade. What should I do with it?
Rejoice.
Rejoice and be glad of it. That sounds a lot like appreciate what I have, doesn't it? And I don't tie my appreciation to these things. I tie my appreciation to the provider of these things, which includes your house and your job and your food and your clothes and your wife and your kids and your dog and all that other stuff that makes your life rich and meaningful and worthy. They don't define you. God should be defining you, but you can appreciate all of these things as a blessing of the Lord. That's not a wrong statement to say, oh, I've been blessed today. Well, in fact, the matter is, you're blessed every day that you wake up, wing, and you say, I'm not dead. He's, on the other hand, thinking, well, I say eat, drink, and be merry and focus on this stuff because then you're going to die, and the rich man and the poor man both end up in the ground, don't they? Can't take any of it with you. Although one guy tried. He was a very rich man. He turned all his money into little gold BBs. And for the last 3 weeks of his life, he kept swallowing those BBs. And finally, when they buried him, they wondered where all his gold was and why he weighed 300 pounds. Then they realized he did take it with him. So the wife had to try and exhume him. It was a mess. But you got to give the man a shot for trying, right? Can't take it with you. When Tim dies, all of his accomplishments will probably end up in you guys' hands. And then when you guys die, if you have children, your stuff will end up in their hands, right? And so it goes, and so it goes, and so it goes. So what does that tell you after generation after generation after generation? Maybe we shouldn't have to just focus our lives on these things. They're not unimportant, don't get me wrong. Everybody wants a good job, a nice house, good clothes, fine food. I get that. But is that all you are? The answer to that question for many people is yes. I'm Dr. So-and-so. I've accomplished this and that, and I have 3 homes and 2 jets and 19 cars. And I'm on my 9th wife right now. Wow, that sounds a lot like Ecclesiastes, doesn't it? Trying to find meaning in his life, all the while neglecting that huge longing that he can't even define. Well, folks, I'm going to give you a clue. The little kid knows what this is. So as negative as this chapter sounds, and it is, he's at least saying, got to be something else. He looks at religion briefly and says, this kid's going into the church. I don't know why, because everybody there is as crooked as everybody else. The officials are crooked, one official over another, over another, over another. I mean, it goes all the way up to the president. What are you going to depend on? Well, he comes to the point where he says, maybe we should just focus on what we have, eat, drink, and be merry, and this will be our reward enough on this planet. And if we're blessed by God, and this is the only reference to God he uses, if we're blessed by God, we'll have enough of this stuff to keep us so happy and busy, we won't even consider that our years are quickly passing by. See what I'm saying? This isn't a blessed chapter at all, but it is at least a movement away that is there another answer that this kid seems to know and I don't. Jesus often said, you know, my word is just so simple that a child can understand it, and yet so profound that some of the greatest theologians haven't got a clue. How is that possible? How is that possible? You know, some people see 1 and 1 as what? 2. Not rocket science here. Fairly simple. 1 and 1. 1 plus 1 equals, we say, 2, right? That's the mathematician. But the philosopher says, well, seems to me that you have 2 options for your life. You got 2 opportunities. You got 2 roads. I think Robert Frost, wasn't he the one that said the road diverges into a yellow wood and it goes off 2 different ways? One is very smooth and easy and the other is very arduous and hard. He say, if I take this road like everybody else, then my life will just be miserable and kind of average and kind of no big deal like everybody else. That's this philosophy right here. I'll settle, reward enough. God doesn't want you to have reward enough. He wants you to have reward eternal. These will keep me happy until I die, and I can't take it with me, so what do I care? God doesn't want you just happy till you die. First of all, He doesn't want you to die. He wants you to live with Him forever. Now, getting here is a little bit tougher, even for a king that's got everything. But the philosopher said, you know what? I'm going to take the road less traveled. It's a lot harder, but I'll end up on the other side a much richer man, not with stuff, but from life and experience and surety. What does those surety do? Well, it gets rid of this. Am I better than the next guy? You know what? I don't need to be better than the next guy because I'm incredible now. And I'm not like the next guy, and I don't want to be like the next guy. 1 and 1 equals 2 to the mathematician. But to the philosopher, to the thinker, to the one who's willing to try, just try to leap beyond your mortal self, this nonsense, and say, I am not going to settle for enough. I want to see it all. I want to climb the mountain. I want to take the risk. I want to get to the top, and I want to shout. It's all a matter of perspective in life, boys. Somebody asks you, oh, why do you go to church? You don't need all that religious stuff. Maybe you don't. I want to get up there. I really want to see the miracle of God. No, Jesus lived 3,000 years ago. I get that, 2,000 years ago. And I can't see Him work a miracle, but I can still climb up here and see the miracles that God's still working. And every miracle I see, you know what that does? Tells me how unimportant this world is And it tells me I don't have to settle for just enough to get by until I die. As negative as this chapter sounds, he has moved a couple of steps that way, towards a positive end, towards a productive life with purpose and reason, rather than just wallowing in his misery literally until he dies. Eat, drink, and be merry as best you can, because tomorrow you're landfill. 99% of the people in the world are still right here. So, next time somebody asks you, oh, why do you go to church? What do you know all that religious stuff for? Just say you're taking a different perspective. 1 and 1 no longer just equals 2 to you. It points out another opportunity, another perspective, another realm of being. This is when you jump beyond yourself into the spiritual. If you don't believe that, read Nicodemus and Jesus' story over and over. Nicodemus asks some simple physical questions, and Jesus answers in these ridiculous, unbelievable answers. Why? Well, because Nicodemus is down here and Jesus is up here. Trying to get that old man, that old studied, learned, dyed-in-the-wool professor to look up at the clouds that are just right above him. And he can't do it. Well, neither can our mighty king. Until he saw a little boy skipping happily, merrily, totally unafraid of life, with his mom to go to church. That's chapter 5, folks. Starting to move, ever so small, baby steps, but we're starting to move, at least to consider, hey, I might be sick. I might better get this diagnosed. I might consider some medical help. In this sense, I might consider some religious help. Okay, that's chapter 5, folks. Chapter 6, he takes a few more steps. And there almost seems to be a little bit of light until he falls into a hole, and that kind of screws stuff up. But we'll see that, because we always all fall into those holes from time to time. All right? That's all I got. Let's get out.